Jai Hind to all. Myself Shikha Agarwal, Assistant Professor in IT Department of Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. So today we are going to discuss one topic, that is an introduction to computer system, which is being further beneficial of PPS students. Like they are going to study, the subject code is BCS 101, or in the even semester that is BCS 201. So when we talk about the computer system, first of all, it comprises with the two words. The first is computer, the second is system. So when we talk about the computer system in the digital world, we should know how that particular system is being working so that it will make our work easy. When whatever the instructions is being given by the user, how it will be helpful for the user so that they can do the different things. So when we talk about the computer, basically it is derived from the one word which is called compute. When I'm talking about the computer, it is a programmable electronic device that takes the data and the instructions as in a form of input for the user. Like whatever the things we are taking it from the user is being considered as a input. Then after that, that particular device, electronic device, which is a computer, is doing a processing of that data, whatever the instructions is being given to that particular input. Then after that, after processing it, we are getting the desired output. Or we can say whatever the output we are getting it will be converted into an useful information. So then we can say we are talking about a system. Basically, computer is an electronic machine that is being instructed to carry out a certain operations. If we are doing the mathematic operations, we are doing our unary operations and so on. So we can perform the various types of operations, and the computer system, what it will do the programming automatically so that we will get the desired output. So that is why we can say when I'm talking about a computer system, it is being based on the concept of IPO. It means whatever we are giving as an input, it will get processed it, and finally we are getting the desired output. So in this lecture, we are going to understand how that particular IPO system is being working, how all or the components is being attached to the system so that we can generate a one digital computer system. So in this, we have already tell you the one word that it is the concept of IPO, input, process and output. So let's understand how that particular task is being achieved. So in that case, first of all, whatever the things we have in a form of data, when we are talking about the word data, data means it is an unprocessed facts and figures that is being given as a input so that we can interpret and analyze the things. For example, I can say if I write 5, so this particular 5 can be a number, it can be an age, it can be a rupee, any number, right? So this is basically a raw figure which I am giving to it as an input. Now according to this given data, whatever the instructions is being given to the processor, it will process that data. Just say, like if we are giving a two numbers like 5 and 10, right? So onto these two numbers, I can give an instruction to the user that you can easily do addition, right? If in given an instruction that you need to do a addition, so it will process the operator add onto the given figures, onto the given data. And then after that, I will get the desired output, which gives a meaningful information that the addition of these two numbers comes out to be 15. So this particular 15 is a output, which gives an information related to this particular data. So we can talk about the two terms. The first is data and the second is information. So before we understand the processor, we should know these two terms. So first of all, when I'm talking about data, I've already told you that it is an unprocessed facts and figures without any added to the interpretation or analysis. Like we are not adding any interpretation into that data, or we are defining that data. It's a raw figures, right? Just like for example, if I say the price of a crude oil is $80 per barrel, right? So this is a only figure that the price of that crude oil is $80 per barrel. But when I'm talking about the meaning of that data, when I am getting interpreted that data on the base of its processing it, and we are getting an useful information, then we can say, useful data, then we can say it is called information. For example, the price of a crude oil has been risen from $70 to $80 per barrel. In the previous, I've told you that today's price is 80. Now, what was the previous price? Now, what can be the future pretense? No, we are not aware about anything, right? But when I'm talking about its complete information, it says that initially the value of the price of a crude oil is $70. Now it is being risen to $80. Fine. So this gives a complete information. Now when I'm talking about a particular system, computer, right? As I've already told you that computer is an electronic device, and that particular device is being computing the things based on the given input. It will get processed it and it will give the desired output. So on the basis of that, in the real world, why we are using a computer? So there are certain characteristics on the basis of that we are saying that we have to work on a digital computers. First is, the first characteristic of a computer is a speed. That's true that if we are talking about a pen paper system, manual way, we can also do the addition of two numbers, right? We can also do the calculations, arithmetic operations, logical operations, and so on, a lot of things, right? But it will take a time. So that is why when I'm talking about the computer system, the first characteristic is its speed. When I'm using the word speed, it says that computer is the fastest device. So it is a very, very powerful system that is being having a capability to performing the various or billions of arithmetic operations in a seconds. Like when I'm taking a 1 minute or 2 minute into that case, but the computer system can perform those operations in a seconds. The second is accuracy. When we are doing something in a very perfect manner, with the help of the computer system, it gives them more accurate results. Designing upon the system, whatever the designing we have done for the system, it will give a more accuracy of the desired output. The third is diligence. When I'm talking about a diligence, it means I'm talking about a tiredness, right? Sometimes when the human beings, they are doing a lot of calculations manually, they're getting a tired off, and there is a more chances of errors. But when I'm talking about a computer system, it is free from the monotony, it is tiredless, and simultaneously there is no talking about a lack of concentration. Sometimes human leaves their concentration and we get the wrong desired output, but not in the case possible in the system of computers. The next is versatile. When I'm talking about the versatile, as we all know that computer is that system which can perform, which is being having a capable of performing a various task, right? And when we talk about the capable of performing any task, like not only based on the arithmetic operations, but also on the logical operations and a lot of things. So into that case, if a table can reduce the series of logical steps, it will reduce that part also. So it means it can perform in a very speedy manner, in an accurate manner, and it can perform almost many tasks in a particular amount of time. The next is storage space. When I'm talking about the storage space, the computer also requires a one storage area where they can store their maximum information or the data, right? So due to which we can say computer is having a capability of its secondary as well as primary storage. There are the two types of storage spaces, like a primary and secondary. So we can say when I'm talking about a computer, it can easily store and recall any type of an information whenever it is required from its secondary storage according to its capabilities. The last characteristic is talking about an automation. We can understand like this way, when suppose if we are working on a particular problem without any human intervention, involvements, like, so once we started our job, they can carry on and the job is being finished, right? We are giving a command to the system, automatically everything is being included and there is no involvement of the human beings. So into that case, it can automatically executes the data and finally it will get the desired output, as we can say the job is being finished. So everything is to be done in an automatic manner, right? So these are the certain characteristics. Let's talk about the two common characteristics in comparison to a manual system and a computer system. The first is human beings is having a feelings, like that they can have an emotions, they can, yes, I'm ready to work, no, I'm feeling so tired, and so on. But when I'm talking about a computer system, they are not having any feelings. They are not talking about the concept of emotions, right? Second thing, there is no IQ. Sometimes we apply our methods. No, I will do this task into that manner and so on. No, but when I'm talking about a computer system, we are giving a one way so that we have assigned the processing to that system and it possesses no intelligence of its own. Whatever the programming, whatever the processor commands is or instructions is being given to the computer system, it will execute into that manner. So basically, we can say the computer systems have no IQs, right? So this is all about the characteristics of a computer system. When I'm talking about the computers in a form of various operations, can we have various applications on which the computers can work, right? So when we talk about the computer system, it is being applicable in the real world in each and every real-time applications. Not only for doing a mathematical calculations or for typing the things, no. It is being used in the real world. It is being used everywhere, whatever the applications we are talking about by using the computers or whatever the things we are thinking about the users, whatever the human beings can do, this particular system is also doing it. So let's talk about the various applications. The first is word processing. When I'm talking about the writing a letters or writing a data, so whatever the things we are doing onto that, we can easily do with the help of the system also. We can do the typing with the systems and we can talk about the word processing. Second, we are talking about the digital audio and video compressions. Whatever that audio and video files we have, we can compress the data whenever we want to send from one location to another and so on. We are having a lot of internet facilities. As we know, internet is a network of networks, right? So with the help of that internet, we can connect on a distant peoples also, right? So that we can communicate with each other once we are connected with each other. The next is your desktop publishing. Whatever the things we are doing it, we can easily publish on your desktop so that we can share with anyone. We can easily manipulate or we can handle the traffic controls also. As we know, with the help of the computers, we are having a GPS systems and so on the highways and all. They are maintaining their data with the help of the sensors and fine. And they can easily retrieve the data with the help of the computer systems, right? The retail businesses also in hospitals, in business and industries and so on. There are many more various applications where we can talk about the computers, in which each and every field maximally we are dependent on the computer systems. Like you can talk about your weather forecasting, your education system, your online banking transactions, robotics, expert systems. Whenever we want to take suggestions from the doctors, we can talk about the healthcare system also. So we are talking about a various applications where we can talk about the computer systems, right? When we have talked about a lot of computer systems, how that particular IPU works, input, process, output, right? When we talk about the complete components and or you can say an architecture or a digital computer system. So let's begin one of the most important topic, that what are the components of a computer system. As in the previous slides, I have already shown you about the input, process, output system, right? So when I'm talking about the input unit, it always takes a data from as a raw facts and figures. Then after that, there is a one processing unit into the system, right? When I'm talking about a process in the computer system, that particular processor is called as CPU, Central Processing Unit, right? And finally, we are getting an output unit, right? Through which we will get a complete picture of that particular information. So this is the way how that particular IPO works. When I'm talking about all these three components, first is your input unit, second is your central processing unit or you can say CPU, and the third is your output unit. So these are the three units which we will study in a brief, right? Whatever the things we are giving as an input, that is a raw data. It can be a text, it can be an audio, it can be an image, anything, right? And then on the basis of that, when that particular central processing unit is going to process that data with the help of the control unit and arithmetic logical unit, and after that it will provide the desired output with the help of the control flow and the data flow, then we can say we are getting the desired information, right? So let's begin with all these three components in depth. First of all, we are going to talk about the input devices. What do you mean by the term input? The device with the help of the thing we are giving an instructions or data. So when I'm talking about the input units, it accepts the instructions and the data from the outside world, and whatever the instructions and being data is being acceptable by the computer form. Like if it understands the characters, so we'll give the characters. If it understands audio, video and so on, it will accept that data in a particular manner. So it converts those instructions and data in the computer acceptable form. Whenever we supplies the instructions to the system, it is being converted and data to the computer system is being given so that it will do the further processing. That is called the input unit, right? How we can provide the different input units to the systems? With the help of the input devices. Like we have a keyboard. With the help of the computer keyboard, we can provide the data with the help of the mouse, scanner, digital camera and microphones. These are the various input units through which we can provide the data to the user so that we can get the data into the system. The next, according to the given components architecture, we have talked about the storage unit. What do you mean by the term storage? So that we can store the data either in a permanent manner or temporary basis. So we can say when I'm talking about a computer memory, it means I'm talking about a storage unit. Basically, a computer memory is your physical device that is being capable of storing the information either permanent or temporary, depending upon which type of storage device we are using. Basically, the storage unit stores the data as well as the instructions which is being required and for processing that particular data, and stores the immediate results of processing. Fine. So it will also stores the immediate results of processing before the results are being released to as an output. Because if the output device is not working, so it will put the data onto an hold, right? It is having a desired output. So in the case of the storage unit, it will also stores the final results of the processing, right? When I'm talking about the storage devices, it is being divided in the two types. The first is primary storage and the second is secondary storage. When we are talk about the secondary storage, it is also called as an auxiliary memory. Fine. So when we talk about storage, so we are having a two types of storage spaces, devices. The first is primary storage and secondary storage. So in this lecture, we are also going to discuss both the storage devices one after another. So first of all, we'll discuss about the primary storage. What do you mean by the term primary? First. So into that case, primary memory is that particular computer memory which is being used to hold the program that is being currently executing into the computer system, right? Not the backup data, but on the data on which we are currently working onto it. That is being executed into the computer system. The data being received from the input device, then intermediate, and then we are getting a final results of a program that is being easily accessible by the device, which is called CPU, or you can say central processing unit, like we are having it at a very fastest speed. When I'm talking about a primary storage, it is having a limited storage capacity, right? We have to be fixed according to the given system that how much memory we can give to that particular system. Why? Because it is very expensive. And when I'm talking about a primary storage space, generally they are made up of the semiconductor devices. When I'm talking about a primary storage, again it is of two types. The first is RAM, the second is ROM. Remember one thing, when I'm talking in most of the cases, primary memory refers to the systems of RAM, right? Which is a volatile primary memory, right? So when I'm talking about RAM and ROM, RAM is random access memory, which is a volatile, right? And ROM is a read-only memory, which is non-volatile. So let's talk about the secondary storage. When I'm talking about the secondary storage, it is also called as an auxiliary memory or a storage space. Whatever the data is being processed by the system, right? That particular program and data, if it is needed by the central processing unit, they are first being transferred from the secondary memory to the main memory, and then it will get processed and it will be displayed on the output device. Basically, secondary storage is your mask storage memory also, but because it will stores operating system, data files, compilers, assemblers, application programs, everything. So that is why we are talking about the secondary storage. Remember one thing, in comparison to the primary memory, secondary storage is very slower, but it is very cheaper also. As we know that primary memory is very expensive. Second thing is, if it is talking about a secondary storage, it is non-volatile. Means the data is not lost even if the power is being switched off. Sometimes it happens if we have not saved the file. In the case of primary, it will be deleted. Because that is why it is volatile in nature, right? But when they're talking about the secondary storage, the data is not lost even if the power switch is being switched off. For example, is your hard disk and compact disk, right? So next we are talking about the central processing. We'll not go in depth for a memory, rest of the memories like RAM, ROM, what are the different types of storage devices in a secondary and so on, because it will go beyond that part. Okay? We'll discuss in the next of the lectures. The next we are going to talk about the central processing unit. When I am talking about a central processing unit, as you can see the diagram, when I'm talking about the central processing unit, it is having a two parts. The first is your memory space, or we can say we are talking about a storage unit. As we have already discussed that we are having a two types of a storage unit, primary and secondary, right? Then after that, when I'm talking about the CPU processing it, it is again divided in the two parts. First is CU, stands for control unit, and the second is ALU, which is called as an arithmetical logical unit, right? So when I'm talking about the central processing unit, when the control unit responsibilities and the arithmetic logical unit of a computers, they are combined together, so that we can say this is called as a computer, or you can say central processing unit. We can say the CPU is basically a brain which can perform like a human beings. Whatever the instructions, functions we have given to it, it will be working onto those instructions. So it will perform all the calculations and it take all the decisions, controls of all the units of a computer. So it will do the rest of the things, how we can do the decisions, how we can do the different calculations. So because it consists of two parts, first is control unit and the arithmetic logical unit. So we'll discuss both the parts in little bit depth. First of all, we are going to discuss about the control unit. Control unit says that it will control all the other units in a computer. It is basically a central nervous system. That is why when we talk about the control unit, it is also called as a central nervous system or brain of the computer. Because with the help of the control unit, you can manage, coordinate the entire computer system, and we can easily synchronize the given task, because computer is being given a n number of tasks in a particular amount of time, and it can easily synchronize that particular data. So that is why with the help of the control unit, we can control rest of the control other units also. With the help of the control unit, it controls the flow of data as well as the instructions from the logical, from the storage unit to the arithmetic units also. It can perform a various actions or commands on any actual processing of that particular data. The next we are going to talk about an ALU, that is an arithmetic and logical unit. When I'm talking about an arithmetic and logical unit, it's combining of two words. The first is arithmetic and the second is logics. right? So it can perform all the arithmetic operations, right, and logical operations like your addition, subtraction, and operation, or exit, not so on. So it can perform increment, decrement, clear operations. Whatever the instructions is being given is being performing those functions, right? So on the basis of that, we are talking about the arithmetic and logical unit. The next is the last is your output unit. See, whatever the data is being processed, we need to talk about its desired output, result. Somewhere we need to perform onto the computer system. Now, when I'm talking about it processing the desired output, it is being generated in the computer coded form. What is the computer coded form? It should be a binary digits like 0 and 1, right? But we are not able to understand. So, with the help of the output units, it is being converted these code results, program coded forms, like combination of binary and 0, into the human understandable form, so that it can supplies the converted result to the outside world, right? So it can be displayed with the help of the monitors, printers, speakers, projectors, and plotters. There are the various output units on the which we can getting the desired output in our human understandable form, whatever the humans can easily understand the data, right? So let's talk about the memory hierarchy. As I've given you that in the previous slides, we are talking about the two types of memory storage spaces, like your primary and secondary. But in the case of the primary memory, we have discussed about RAM and ROM also, right? So let's talk about or discuss a very important question for the pyramid of memory hierarchy. Memory hierarchy depending upon its size and the speed and cost, right? So size is being reduced into this way, is being increasing, and speed and cost is being increasing in this way. First of all, we are going to talk about the disk storage. Then we are having a main memory. Main memory includes the two things, primary as well as secondary. There are some times it happens we can store the data on the caches also. And finally, the data is being stored into the CPU registers, which is being easily understandable by the computer. When I'm talking about a memory hierarchy, everything depends upon size, cost, and its speed. As I have already told you that in the case, we are talking about the three parameters, size, speed, and cost, right? As we move up the pyramid, the cost and the speed of a memory bits is being increasing, right? Just like I've told you that when I'm talking about a secondary storage, disk storage devices, its cost is very least expensive, right? And it is slow in comparison to the primary memory, right? So this is the way we are talking about its speed. As we move down, the size of the memory is being increasing. So for example, if I'm talking about a magnetic disk in the main memory, its speed and the cost is less in compared to the main memory, and it is greater in size as compared to its main device. Fine. When I'm talking about the CPU registers, matlab like I'm talking about a CPU in which we are having a many number of registers in which it can store the instructions and their intermediate temporary results which may be generated during the processing. Because as our computer cannot understand the human language, right? For processing it, whatever the instructions is being given, it will store the space onto the CPU registers, and on the CPU registers, it will process that data and it will generate the desired output according to the processing unit. There are certain internal registers also into the system, which is having a very small amount of storage space, and it is very, very fast in the memory. As we have discussed about the one more thing that after the registers, we are having a cache memory. When I'm talking about the cache memory is that memory which is being used by the CPU for the memory, which is being accessed over and over again, right? It is very, very smaller memory, but it is having a larger than internal registers. So it is being put into the main memory, not every time, but instead of pulling again and again, if we are accessing to the main memory, it will make a not fastest one. So sometimes we used to store the data into the cache memory so that we can easily and fastest into the access the data, right? When I'm talking about the main memory, the RAM I'm talking about, right? So RAM I'm talking about is a random access memory. It is also called as a physical memory, RAM or system memory or main memory. I have already told you that when I'm talking about a RAM, it is a volatile memory, right? If the computer turned off, all the data contained on the RAM will be lost, right? Because if you will not save your data, if you not keep the things, then it will automatically lost your data. It is faster than the hard disk, but slower than the cache registers. Okay? As we access the data in the instructions randomly instead of sequencing as in a disk. The next is your secondary storage. When I'm talking about the secondary storage, whatever the program and the instructions, if needed by the central processing unit, are first transferred from the secondary memory to the main memory, and then it will access that data and put the desired output. Somewhere it is slower than the primary memory because secondary memory is having a mask storage space. So why? Because it is also stores operating system, data files, compiler, assemblers, whatever the application programs we required into the system and so on. So that is why it will store the data permanently. Fine. So this is all about the brief introduction of computer system. These are the certain references from which you can go through these lectures, right? You will get the data from these courses, and moreover, you can also access your one data from the NPTEL so that you can, or elaborately, you can more understand into that particular subject. Thank you.